The Less 5150 podcast begins now. Good evening or good morning, depending on when you're listening to the stream, or should I say, streaming of the podcast. Welcome to the Less 5150 podcast. I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we're all here. Glad we're doing this tonight. This morning, whenever it may be. It's 10:35 p.m. right now on a Wednesday. I'm recording it for you guys right now. So here's the deal. We talked about last month, October. I did a podcast called Aerosmith Pump, and an album that had a lot of meaning to me. And I said I was going to start doing these once a month. Well, it's that time of the month again. Not that time of the month. It's that time of the month when we talk about something that means a lot to me. And I figured we might as well just do this one because everybody asks me all the time, Les, where did Les 5150 EVH came from? Well, it's not like some magical story. Well, it is a magical story to me. It's about a band named Van Halen and my love for that band. See, it all started... That's the going back in time sound effect. Look, we're cheap around here. We can't afford special effects. I'm lucky to have Van Halen doing Panama at the opening of this segment, all right? Anyway, so we go all the way back. I was a little kid, and I think I heard Jump on the radio for the first time, and I loved it. But I wasn't hooked on Van Halen then. It wasn't until we went on a Christmas holiday with my whole family. We went to Tennessee, Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and we stayed in a log cabin, rented a log cabin for all the family to stay. And I think it was 2 levels, maybe, I think, I don't remember. I know it was 2 levels because I remember going up and downstairs. But anyway, I found this record collection. And in this record collection were some cool records, man. Some of them I knew, some of them I didn't know. But I'm going through these records, and I see one with this baby holding a cigarette and a pack of cigarettes in front of the baby. The baby's got wings on. And I was like, oh, this looks cool. As a kid, you think, hey, the artwork was catchy, okay? So I put it on the record player, and the opening sequence was 1984. That was the first song. It's the intro. And the intro leads right into Jump. And you may know Jump. You've probably heard it in stadiums. You've probably heard it quite a bit. It's a really popular song. If you don't know it, I suggest you go listen to it. But anyway, so I listened to the album 1984 from start to finish in that log cabin. And that album hooked me on Van Halen. So I became a pretty big Van Halen fan at that point. I wanted to learn how to play guitar like Eddie. I wanted to sing like David Lee Roth. I wanted to play drums like Alex Van Halen. And I wasn't interested in playing bass. Sorry, Mikey, you're a hell of a bass player, but this wasn't interested in playing bass. I don't know why. Anyway. So, yawning. Sorry, that Meclizine makes me tired. Oh, God. Vertigo. Everything's spinning. Woo! Anyway, so... that's how I became a huge Van Halen fan, but it didn't stop there. When we got home from vacation or whatever, I would sit and I had this little boom box, and it had 2 cassettes in it. So, dual cassette. I would put in different. Well, first I got a majority of the Van Halen collection on tape. I got every one I could find. Available on cassette tape, and I would sit there, and the first one I started off with, and I don't know why I started off with, I remember now, I remembered, I went over to a friend's house, Kevin's house, and his brother Patrick was a guitar player, and he had a Van Halen 2 tab book, and I don't know if you guys know what tab books are, but it pretty much has 6 lines, and it goes from the low E and the high E, of course, and it would tell you a number on that particular string. So if it's on the E string, it would say 5. Would be on the E string on the 5th fret. So you hold down 5 and bam, you got your note, right? So anyway, he gave me a tab book of Van Halen 2, and I'd go through and I would listen to the tape. I'd sit there and carefully listen to parts of the song rewind it and listen to it again, and I would slow it down by barely holding in the play button to make it go real slow, so I could hear what Eddie was doing. Look, I was cheap back then too. Okay, I couldn't afford the special effects like they have now. So anyway, I would learn little licks, and let's see, "Out of Love" is on Van Halen too, and I would, you know, learn the riffs, listening to them in slow motion. Oh, excuse my yawn. I'm sorry. God, I really do apologize about that. It's not. I'm bored. It's not that I'm bored doing this. It's the medicine. It makes me sleepy, and I, I don't really feel like stopping and editing that out because I'm lazy right now. So anyway, I would something like "Out of Love" again. I would listen to it, and then I'd go back and play it on the guitar, and I'd listen to it and go back and play it on the guitar, and I would learn that way, and learn the intro, the chord, the verse, the chorus, the guitar solo. So I did that, and I had a little cheap guitar. It wasn't a cheap guitar. It was a red Ibanez Silver Cadet. I remember that guitar. Golly, I miss that guitar. Anyway, my mom for Christmas bought me a guitar amp, and I'm sure she regrets that to this day. But anyway, I would plug into that guitar amp, and it had a little bit of distortion in it, but I wanted that Van Halen sound. So I would dial, just mess around with chasing the tone. Is what us guitar players call. I'd chase that tone, that sound, that brown sound that Eddie was notorious for. Um, it didn't stop there. I got the CDs eventually, and CDs. I didn't find the CDs quite as useful as the tapes because the tapes were so easy to rewind, pause, and slow. So the CDs, you couldn't really do that. So I just stuck with the tapes, even though I still have the CDs and I've wore the CDs out. Trust me. So anyway, I became a diehard Van Halen fan. I learned to do the tapping, the two-handed tapping, which you can hear him do a lot of two-handed tapping on probably Judgment Day off of For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge album. If you listen to that album, that's the album with Sammy Hagar. But I learned as many Van Halen songs as I could. People would buy me birthdays and Christmases and stuff like that. They'd buy me the tab books for, what album do you want this time? And I'd tell them, I want the tab for 5150, or I want the tab for, Fair Warning, or Diver Down, which I don't really know a whole lot of songs off Diver Down, I'll be honest. I know Pretty Woman, The Full Bug, and Secrets or something. But anyway, so Hang 'em High. I'm sorry, not Secrets, Hang 'em High. But anyway, so I would go through and learn all the albums. And then, at the time when Sammy was in the band, I was still a diehard Van Halen fan. I loved the Sammy stuff, even though a lot of people didn't like it because, you had the David Lee Roth side of things that was the partying and the heart, just a party band. And Sammy was about falling in love and getting married and having kids and stuff. So, well, the later on Van Hagar albums were the first couple of Van Hagar albums were pretty fun albums, kind of very similar to the David Lee Roth stuff, in my opinion. And I'm gonna grab a drink of water real quick. Nice Dasani. Oh, I thought it was Aquafina. When did we switch? Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. It's like, wait a minute. So anyway, I learned the Van Hagar songs as well, and I remember getting Live Without a Net. I think that was the first Van Hagar official release live concert. They released Live Without a Net in New Halen, Connecticut, if I remember correctly. New Haven, but they called it New Halen, which I thought was kind of cool. So anyway, I would watch his guitar solo live, and you got to remember, back then, keeping up with our artists, the only way to keep up with them was through radio interviews or MTV or what we read or, what we seen. It wasn't like you could now just open up Google and type in Van Halen and you find out everything you want to about the guys. Back then, it's just, a lot of it was rumors, but that's the only way you found out about him. So anyway, I watched that DVD and then, would watch the guitar solos and see how Eddie would do guitar solos and try to mimic that. And I remember sitting in the living room and taking that amp in there, and Eddie would do all these harmonics. And basically a harmonic is where you lightly touch the string over a fret and you get a harmonic sound. It's like doo. Well, when Eddie hits it, he has the Floyd Rose tremolo system, the whammy bar, like most people like to call it. So he hits a harmonic, and you can hit the harmonic and you can change the pitch. You can add sound effects and stuff like that. I know I sound so stupid doing this, but anyway, I'm just trying to give you an example. Then you can do pinched harmonics where you can pinch it and it gives it a high. And if you just go listen to any Van Halen album, you'll hear these pretty much on every song. But he's very cool. The way he does it is very cool. It's not the same thing every time. It's different. Just like his two-handed tapping, which, a lot of guitar players do it, and Eddie did not create it. I think he just took it and made it his own, and he kind of perfected it, man. I mean, now I guarantee there's probably better guitar players and better tappers than Eddie. But here's the thing that I always argue is Eddie wrote songs that were hits. The guitar parts are very memorable. Like if you think of Panama, bum, 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 as soon as you hear that, it's Panama. Hot for Teacher, the beginning, that's Van Halen. Eddie wrote hits. These other guitar players like Yngwie Malmsteen and Steve Vai, and those guys, they're good guitar players, and I'm not knocking them at all. They're excellent guitar players, phenomenal guitar players. They're just not hit makers. They're not. Joe Satriani, though, now I like his style, but it's sad that people couldn't get into Chickenfoot more than they didn't. But anyway, nonetheless, let's get back to the Van Halen thing. So, I became a huge Van Halen fan, of course, and we're up into the Van Hagar years. And I remember on the back of a magazine, I used to buy Guitar World all the time, and Eddie was pretty much on those covers all the time. I mean, I can't remember a time when I didn't see him on the cover. Funny story, we even went as far as growing out a goatee and cutting my hair like him one time during the Balance years. I thought it was so hilarious. But anyway, I remember in the back of a magazine, Eddie was standing there with his foot on a box, and it was that signature red and white stripe blanket cover in a box. And I was like, oh man, what's in there? And it's a PV. We're going to reveal it soon. I'm like, oh man, it must be an amp. Eddie's coming out with his own amp. Now, he already come out with his own guitar, but they were so hard to find and so expensive. It was, I'd never try to get that guitar. It was the Ernie Ball Music Man. And I still chasing that guitar. One of these days, I'll own the damn thing. I'll own the Ernie Ball EVH Music Man. Excuse my language. But anyway, so, he came out with the 5150 combo amp. So that was the first piece of gear I bought with Eddie Van Halen's name on it. So I got the amp, and I'm like, okay, now I'll just plug this Ibanez into it, and I'll sound like Eddie. No, I didn't sound nothing like them. I mean, it had that certain, what's the word I'm looking for? There were hints of that sound from the amp, because it was designed by him, but it didn't sound like him. And that's because Eddie's unique, just like every guitar player is unique. It's their fingers and their soul they're playing through. And I learned that from my interview with Stevie Ray Vaughan, But anyway, so I was young at the time. So anyway, got the 5150 combo amp. And next thing that come out was the PV Wolfgang EVH guitar. Now, I had saved up money, and I remember the day that guitar came out, I had pre-ordered it at Music Express. That's where I got it. It still got the tag on the guitar, wherever. I think the guitar's downstairs. It's Mama's prized possession I own. But I went that day. UPS dropped them off, and Tad Taylor called me and said, "Hey, Les, the guitar's here. You want to come pick it up?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll be right there." Me and my friend Mikey went and picked up the guitar. At that time, it was $750 for the EVH Wolfgang Special Black. I couldn't wait to get it home, man. I could not wait to get that guitar home and plug it into that 5150 combo. I got home, plugged it into the combo, and to me, it sounded like Eddie. Because I had been studying his. At this time, they had where you could go to the Van Halen sites, and you could get like amp settings. And somebody had taken a picture of one of his amps. Come to find out years later, it was a dummy amp, and the settings weren't right, but I thought they were. I mean, like, once again, don't believe everything you read on the internet. So anyway, I dialed it in, and it did kind of have a brown sound to it. My friend Mikey's like, "Yeah, man, that's it." And that's when really just kind of just going crazy and learning every Van Halen song I could. Watching Live Right Here, Right Now. The DVD and the CD came out with it. And so, yeah. So the Les 5150 EVH, the 5150 came from the amps, the 5150 amps, because I love those amps, and EVH Eddie Van Halen. But, like I said, I'm going to be dropping the EVH soon on Beam, and it'll just be Les 5150. But that's my Van Halen story, man. I figured I'd share it and give it to you guys, and, hopefully you enjoyed this. Things that mean something to me once a month. Next month is another one that, if you know me well enough, you probably already guessed what we're going to be covering next month. But anyway, so I will say I have seen the band several times. I've never seen them with David Lee. I've never seen them with Sammy. I have seen them with David Lee Roth and Gary Cherone. And by the way, I loved Van Halen 3. I thought it was a great album. I thought the lyrics were a little too deep for the average Van Halen fan. It probably kind of went over them. Which that's how Gary writes. I like Gary live. The dude is phenomenal. He's a phenomenal entertainer live. Awesome vocals. If you ever get a chance, go check out Extreme. They're another great band I love. But anyway, that's going to wrap up the Van Halen segment. Thank you guys so much for listening. Let me know what you think. And we will see you next week on Monday. Thanksgiving week next week. Gobble, gobble week. All right, man. We'll see you. You guys take it easy. We'll catch you later. Bye-bye.